The air hung thick with the acrid scent of burnt wood and dust. It was the winter of 1940, and the Blitz had turned parts of London into a landscape of broken teeth and gaping wounds. In the small, resilient village of Blackwood, nestled in the rolling green hills of Kent, the distant rumble of bombers was a constant, chilling reminder of the war. Eleanor Vance, a woman in her late 40s with eyes that held the quiet strength of ancient oaks, stood by her cottage window, watching the rain-soaked path. Her hands, calloused from years of tending her garden and mending the village's tattered hopes, clasped a worn teacup. News travelled slowly then, carried by hushed whispers and solemn telegrams. Today, it was the arrival of evacuees from London. Blackwood, though small, had pledged to do its part. Eleanor, having lost her husband in the Great War and her own children to illness years prior, felt a profound emptiness that the war's sombre drumbeats only amplified. Yet her heart, though scarred, was not hardened. A creaking lorry, laden with weary faces and bundles, finally pulled into the village square. Among the disoriented children, a boy no older than 7 stood out. His clothes were singed, his face smudged with soot, and his eyes, wide with a terror that no child should ever know, stared blankly at the unfamiliar surroundings. This was Thomas. He had no parents, no relatives, just the clothes on his back and the phantom echoes of falling bombs. Eleanor walked towards him, her boots sinking slightly into the mud. She knelt, her gaze soft and unwavering. "Hello, lad," she said, her voice a warm balm against the cold wind. "My name's Eleanor." "What's yours?" Thomas flinched, but a flicker of something, perhaps curiosity, crossed his desolate face. "Thomas," he mumbled, barely audible above the low murmur of the village folk. Eleanor offered him her hand, a gesture of quiet invitation. He hesitated, then slowly, tentatively, placed his small, trembling hand in hers. It was a silent promise, an unspoken vow amidst the chaos, that in this small corner of England he would find a home. Don't miss out on the rest of Thomas and Eleanor's incredible journey. Subscribe to our channel to follow their story to the very end. Life in Blackwood was a stark contrast to the urban chaos Thomas had known. Here, the loudest sounds were the bleating of sheep, the chirping of birds, and the occasional distant drone of an aeroplane. Eleanor's cottage, with its thatched roof and rambling rose bushes, became his refuge. She taught him the rhythm of rural life, how to gather eggs, how to tell the difference between a dandelion and a daisy, and the importance of helping Mrs. Henderson with her stubborn goat. Thomas, initially withdrawn and prone to nightmares that left him shaking in his small, borrowed bed, slowly began to unfurl. Eleanor never pressed him to speak about the bombings, but she was always there, a steady presence. She'd read to him by the firelight tales of brave knights and mythical creatures, or simply sit with him, her hand gently resting on his shoulder, letting silence be their companion. He learned to trust her quiet strength, to find comfort in her unwavering gaze. The villagers, a close-knit community hardened by shared hardships, embraced Thomas as one of their own. Mr. Davies, the baker, would often slip him an extra scone, still warm from the oven. Mrs. Gable, the seamstress, mended his torn clothes and even fashioned him a small, sturdy wooden soldier. Slowly, the terror in Thomas's eyes began to recede, replaced by a nascent curiosity and occasionally a genuine smile. Eleanor saw the change, subtle but profound. He was still a boy who carried heavy memories, but he was also a boy who could laugh at a playful puppy and marvel at a budding flower. One crisp autumn afternoon, as they sat shelling peas on the porch, Thomas looked up at Eleanor, his eyes clear and direct. "Thank you," he said, his voice stronger than she had ever heard it. Eleanor simply squeezed his hand, a warmth spreading through her chest. It was a fragile peace they had found, a small haven built on kindness in a world consumed by war. Even in the relative tranquility of Blackwood, the war cast its long, unsettling shadow. Rationing became stricter, food scarcer. Young men from the village left for the front, their departures marked by tearful goodbyes and silent prayers. The threat of invasion loomed, and the Home Guard conducted drills in the village green, their earnestness tinged with a grim determination. One evening, an air raid siren wailed, a shrill, piercing cry that sent shivers down everyone's spine. Thomas, now 9, instinctively clutched Eleanor's hand. They hurried to the communal air raid shelter, a damp, cramped space beneath the old church. The distant thud of bombs, closer than usual, reverberated through the earth, shaking the very foundations of their sanctuary. Thomas buried his face in Eleanor's side, the familiar terror resurfacing. Eleanor held him tight, murmuring reassurances, her own heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The next morning, the village awoke to devastating news. A stray bomb had hit the old mill, reducing it to rubble and claiming the lives of 2 villagers. The air was thick with grief and a renewed sense of vulnerability. Thomas, seeing the devastation, the raw pain on the faces of his new neighbors, felt a deep ache in his own chest. He understood then that even here in the safety of Blackwood, the war's reach was long and indiscriminate. Eleanor, despite her own sorrow, remained a pillar of strength. She organized relief efforts, comforted the bereaved, and instilled in Thomas the importance of resilience. "We must rebuild, Thomas," she told him, her voice firm yet gentle. "Always, even from the ashes." Her words, simple yet profound, resonated deeply within the young boy, planting a seed of purpose in the fertile ground of his burgeoning spirit. It was a lesson he would carry with him for a lifetime, a quiet determination to mend what was broken. As the war years dragged on, the hardships deepened, yet so did the resolve of the people. Thomas, now a lanky teenager, had truly become Eleanor's son in all but blood. He helped her with the garden, took on odd jobs in the village, and continued his studies with a newfound diligence. Eleanor, seeing his intelligence and keen eye for detail, encouraged his interest in drawing and building, often bringing him discarded blueprints from her late husband's old workshop. He spent hours poring over them, sketching his own designs for houses, bridges, and even an improved air raid shelter. Eleanor would watch him, a quiet pride swelling in her heart. She saw not just a boy doodling, but a young man finding his calling, a way to shape the world around him. His passion for construction, born from the destruction he had witnessed, was a silent testament to his resilience, a desire to create rather than destroy. The war finally ended, not with a sudden bang, but a gradual fading of shadows. The relief that swept through Blackwood was palpable, a mix of exhaustion and exhilarating hope. The street parties were humble affairs, but the joy was immense, a collective exhale after years of holding their breath. Thomas, standing beside Eleanor, felt a sense of belonging he had never thought possible. This village, this woman, had given him back his life. But the peace brought its own challenges. The economy struggled, and many villages, including Blackwood, faced the daunting task of rebuilding and modernizing. Thomas, now 18, knew he had to leave Blackwood to pursue his dream of becoming an architect. It was a bittersweet farewell. Eleanor, though heartbroken to see him go, encouraged him with the same quiet strength she had always possessed. "Go, my boy," she said, her eyes glistening. "Build your dreams. But remember, Blackwood will always be your home." He promised he would return, a promise sealed with a tight embrace and a tearful goodbye at the village bus stop. Don't let this incredible journey end here. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single chapter of this inspiring story. Thomas's journey was not without its difficulties. He arrived in London, a city still scarred by war, with little more than the clothes on his back and Eleanor's unwavering belief in him. He worked odd jobs, saved every penny, and pored over textbooks late into the night. His talent for design, honed in the quiet hours of Eleanor's cottage, quickly became apparent. He secured a place at a prestigious architectural school, a beacon of hope in a city slowly reawakening. The years that followed were a whirlwind of intense study and relentless work. Thomas immersed himself in the principles of urban planning, sustainable design, and the art of creating spaces that truly served people. He was driven not just by ambition, but by a deeper purpose: to build structures that were safe, enduring, and beautiful, a stark contrast to the flimsy, temporary shelters that had defined his early childhood. He remembered the feeling of being unsafe, of living under constant threat, and he vowed to create environments that offered security and solace. His designs began to win accolades, recognized for their innovative approach and their thoughtful integration into the surrounding environment. He interned with a leading architectural firm, quickly rising through the ranks. His colleagues noted his quiet determination, his meticulous attention to detail, and his unwavering commitment to his projects. He was not just building structures, he was crafting legacies. Despite his burgeoning success, Thomas never forgot Blackwood or Eleanor. He wrote to her regularly, his letters filled with updates on his progress and questions about the village. Eleanor's replies, always encouraging and filled with local news, were a grounding force in his busy life. He knew that the foundation of his success was built on the kindness and resilience she had shown him when he had nothing. The memory of her quiet strength and the warmth of her home fueled his ambition. Decades passed. Thomas, now a renowned architect with a string of successful projects under his belt, had built an impressive career. His name was synonymous with innovative, community-focused design. He had transformed cityscapes, designed public spaces that fostered connection, and created homes that were both beautiful and functional. Yet despite his professional triumphs, a part of him always yearned for the simple, honest beauty of Blackwood. One day, while reviewing old maps for a new project, he stumbled upon an old, faded photograph of Blackwood. It showed the village green, the church, and Eleanor's cottage, looking much as it had when he was a boy. A pang of nostalgia, sharp and poignant, shot through him. He realized with a jolt that he hadn't visited Blackwood in years, his demanding career having kept him tethered to London and global projects. He felt a sudden, urgent need to return, to see Eleanor again. He drove down the familiar winding roads, the landscape slowly transforming from urban sprawl to rolling hills and quaint hamlets. As he approached Blackwood, a sense of unease began to settle over him. The village, once so vibrant and full of life, seemed quieter. Many of the old cottages looked neglected, their roofs sagging, their gardens overgrown. The village shop was boarded up, and the pub, once the lively heart of the community, was silent. He found Eleanor's cottage, but it too showed the ravages of time. The roses were no longer rambling, but wild and untamed. The paint on the door was peeling, and the windows seemed to stare out blankly. A wave of sorrow washed over him. He knocked, his heart pounding, but there was no answer. A neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, now a frail old woman he barely recognized, emerged from her cottage, her eyes filled with sympathy. "Eleanor passed away a few years back, dear," she said softly, her voice raspy with age. "She spoke of you often, Thomas, always with such pride." The news of Eleanor's passing hit Thomas with a profound sense of grief and regret. He walked through the village, the weight of her absence heavy on his shoulders. He saw the faded glory, the encroaching neglect. Blackwood, once a sanctuary, now seemed to be fading away, a victim of progress and the passage of time. The promises he had made to himself as a young boy, the lessons Eleanor had instilled in him about rebuilding and resilience, echoed in his mind. He spent days in Blackwood, talking to the remaining villagers, hearing their stories of economic decline, of young people leaving for the cities, of the slow erosion of their community spirit. He learned that the younger generations had little reason to stay, with dwindling job opportunities and a lack of modern amenities. The once bustling village was becoming a relic, its future uncertain. As he stood by Eleanor's quiet grave, the words she had spoken to him so long ago, "We must rebuild, Thomas, always, even from the ashes," resonated with a new, powerful meaning. He realized then what he had to do. His success, his skills, his resources, all of it, could be put to a purpose far greater than personal gain. He could rebuild Blackwood, not just its physical structures, but its spirit, its future, its very essence in Eleanor's name. It would be his way of honoring her, of truly fulfilling the silent promise made on that ash-filled day so many years ago. He envisioned a vibrant community, a place where history blended seamlessly with modernity, where new life could flourish. He would face challenges, he knew, from bureaucratic hurdles to local skepticism. But the memory of Eleanor's unwavering spirit and the image of a revitalized Blackwood fueled his determination. This was more than a project. It was a pilgrimage, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the legacy of a woman who had saved a lost boy. Don't miss the exciting conclusion to this heartwarming story. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to be the first to know when the final chapters are released. Thomas's proposal to revitalize Blackwood was met with a mixture of hope and skepticism. The younger generation, those who had chosen to stay, were cautiously optimistic, eager for a chance to breathe new life into their fading home. But many of the older residents, jaded by years of neglect and promises unfulfilled, were wary. "It's a pipe dream, lad," grumbled Mr. Jenkins, the retired farmer. "This village is done for." Bureaucracy proved to be an even greater hurdle. Navigating planning permissions, securing funding, and dealing with land ownership issues was a labyrinthine process. Thomas, however, was undeterred. His years of experience in large-scale urban projects had equipped him with an unyielding patience and a knack for persuasion. He presented his detailed plans, highlighting the economic benefits, the preservation of local heritage, and the creation of a sustainable future. He emphasized the importance of maintaining Blackwood's unique character while introducing modern amenities. He faced resistance not only from external forces, but also from within the village itself. Some residents were deeply attached to the status quo, fearful of change, even positive change. Old feuds resurfaced, and whispers of outsider and meddling began to circulate. Thomas, however, approached these challenges with the quiet dignity he had learned from Eleanor. He organized town hall meetings, listened patiently to every concern, and tirelessly explained his vision, one resident at a time. He showed them detailed renderings of the proposed new village hall, the restored pub, and the modern, energy-efficient cottages that would replace the dilapidated ones. He even brought in local historians to ensure the new designs respected Blackwood's rich past. Slowly, gradually, the tide began to turn. The sincerity of his intentions, the meticulousness of his plans, and the sheer force of his dedication began to chip away at the skepticism. Mrs. Peterson, Eleanor's old neighbor, became his staunch advocate, sharing stories of Eleanor's kindness and Thomas's resilience, reminding everyone of the deep roots he had in Blackwood. The memory of Eleanor, woven into the fabric of the village, became a silent ally in his endeavor. The first diggers broke ground on a crisp spring morning, the rumble of their engines a stark contrast to the quiet of Blackwood. Thomas, in his well-worn work boots and hard hat, was everywhere, overseeing every detail. The initial projects focused on the core of the village, restoring the old pub, building a new community hall, and renovating the neglected village shop. Local craftsmen were hired, infusing the project with a sense of shared ownership and pride. As the months turned into seasons, Blackwood underwent a remarkable transformation. The old pub, renamed the Eleanor Arms, became a vibrant hub once again, its laughter echoing through the evenings. The community hall hosted events, bringing villagers together in ways they hadn't experienced in decades. New, affordable homes, designed with a blend of traditional aesthetics and modern comforts, began to fill with young families, drawn by the promise of a revitalized rural life. Thomas wasn't just building structures. He was rebuilding lives. He facilitated training programs for new skills, helping residents find employment in the revitalized local businesses. He oversaw the creation of new walking trails, drawing tourists and boosting the local economy. The village green, once patchy and neglected, was meticulously landscaped, becoming a vibrant space for children to play and adults to gather. The spirit of cooperation blossomed. Villagers, once wary, now pitched in, eager to contribute to their shared future. The old and the new blended seamlessly, a testament to Thomas's thoughtful design and the community's renewed spirit. The air in Blackwood no longer carried the faint scent of decay, but the fresh smell of sawdust, of newly cut grass, and of blossoming hope. It was a tangible realization of Eleanor's enduring lesson, that from destruction, new life can always emerge. Years later, Blackwood stood as a testament to resilience, a shining example of a community reborn. The village, once teetering on the brink of abandonment, now thrived, a vibrant blend of tradition and modernity. New businesses flourished, the village school was bustling with children, and the narrow lanes hummed with renewed life. Tourists came to admire the seamless blend of old and new architecture and to hear the remarkable story of its transformation. Thomas, though older, still visited Blackwood regularly. He walked the cobblestone paths he had helped lay, admired the sturdy new buildings, and greeted the familiar faces of villagers, many of whom now called him a friend, a benefactor, a son of Blackwood. He often stopped by the small park, a peaceful green space he had designed, dedicated to Eleanor Vance. A simple plaque bore her name and a quote, "From the ashes we rebuild." One sunny afternoon, as he sat on a bench in the park, watching children play, a young boy approached him. "Are you Mr. Thomas?" he asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "My granny says you saved our village." Thomas smiled, a warmth spreading through him. "I just helped," he said softly. "The real credit goes to the people of Blackwood and to a very kind woman named Eleanor." He thought of Eleanor, of her quiet strength, her unwavering kindness, and the silent promise she had made to a lost boy during a time of war. Her spirit, he realized, was not just in the plaque, but in every brick, every laugh, every moment of community in Blackwood. It was a living legacy, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the profound impact one life can have on many. Blackwood wasn't just a place he rebuilt. It was a physical manifestation of gratitude, a lasting monument to the woman who had given him a home, hope, and the strength to rebuild not just a village, but a future. Thank you for watching this inspiring story. If you were moved by Eleanor and Thomas's journey, please remember to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of human resilience and connection.